Hey guys, welcome back to Vince-Vell Custom. So today we're going to do a little bit of a tip and trick video, and this is kind of what I've learned at the last Jersey Fest back in 2016. This is why I always tell people, if you want to get into the hobby or you are in the hobby, go to the shows, Wonderfest, Jersey Fest, or any other shows that are around, and just start talking to people, ask people questions, because there's so much stuff out there that I've never known that can work for my customs, and I keep learning every year I go and I talk to people. So last year I was at one of the tables, and one of the guys I know for a long time, and I'm looking at some of the stuff he's got for sale, and we're talking. So I flipped that item over, and I looked underneath the item, and I was like, what is this stuff underneath this base? And he's like, oh, that's Durhams of water putty. I'm like, well, what the hell is that? Because, the base is a hollow base, like this Wonder Woman base here. This is all hollow when you cut off the top. And he had underneath of it was all filled to give it weight, and I was like, what is this stuff? So he's like, it's Durham's putty. You go get it at like a Home Depot and stuff. I'm like, really? Yeah, and he's like, yeah, it's a little can. It's not that expensive, and you just mix it with water and you fill it in. I was like, holy crap! So I got this stuff over the summer, and I tested it on some items, and the stuff is great. So I always thought that whenever I would do something like this, I would have to get two-part resin, and two-part resin, like even if you go on eBay and you get the cheaper stuff, like a gallon kit or 2 gallon kits, like you could still run you about $80-90. This stuff right here is, I think this can is only like, I don't know, probably like $10, $15, something like that, and all it is powder. As you can see, it's just powder in there, and you mix the powder with water. And depending on how thick you want it, whether you want it to be like more of a smoother toothpaste or really like thick, like, concrete type stuff, you mix it with water. We'll do that in the garage. And you can lay it over stuff. So as you can see, I've been working on the base a little bit. So I've done the stuff before. This is fiberglass. This is your typical fiberglass stuff that you get if you break a finger, arm, or leg that, doctors use. I found somebody that can supply me with this whenever I need it. So I dremelled out the top of the Wonder Woman base, and I put a piece of thick resin underneath here for her main foot. But this foot over here that'll be pegged is where I'm going to do all my A's work. But what I'm doing is I want to sculpt the top of it and give it some weight but some security. So we're going to do like a little bit of experiment where I'm going to take these, this putty and some of these little gravel rocks, mix it together and put it over here and give it like this is all broken up. It's really good stuff. I mean, literally I did this stuff last night, and it's pretty much hard as a rock. And this is stuff you use for plumbing and all this other stuff, and it's really great. It's a great tip. Supposedly all these guys in the hobby have been doing this for years, and I just discovered it now. Go figure. I could have used this stuff over and over, but you could use this stuff for bases too. You could kind of sculpt with it if you make it thick enough, but not really. It's more, I guess a lot of the guys will use it more for filler. So if you have a hollow statue, say, and you want to fill it in or fill in a leg or something, you can use this stuff. And it gives some weight to the item that you're working on too. So it's really cool. So we're going to go into the garage. I'm going to mix some of this up and show you how I mix it. Maybe what I'll do is I'll throw some gravel rocks into it as well. And then come back, we're just going to slap it all around here and get it on here and secured. I might still, go over it with A's, but depending on how it all looks. So maybe I can actually kind of toy with it and sculpt with it a little bit. We'll see. But this is what I love about the hobby. You find all these things out, and things like this are cost effective. Where if you guys are just getting into the hobby and you want to make a base for an item you're working on, but you don't want to drop that $100 worth of resin, or you don't want to buy all this mold and clay, something like $10-15 like this you can get, and you can pour it onto a base, or you can start sculpting your own base, or you can use it as a filler. I mean, there's just tons of things out there that you can do with this stuff, and I'm kind of just learning with it, which is pretty cool. And this is one of the great projects of having a big hollow base. So let's get us set up in the garage, and we'll start mixing it up and see how it works out. Okay, we're in the garage. We're going to start mixing up. So this was the top of the base, as you can see. It just gives you an idea of what's in between that, Wonder Woman base. It's just all rotocasted resin and stuff. So what I do is I have one of these throwaway spoons that I use for mixing. We got like a little bit of water, about that much water in there. You don't need that much water. So you just take a spoonful of this stuff, and you probably need a couple of them. It's probably still too much water in here. So you see how I did 3 spoons in there, and it's still very liquidy. you want to get it thickened up. So I got a little thing here. Keep mixing the stuff in. I guess the way to do it really is just keep pouring water into it. You know, first put your powder in, then pour water into it. But I'll be using a lot of this anyway because it's a fairly big base. Now we're getting thickened up. It's like almost like mixing batter for like a cake and stuff. So you can see this is not this thing. This is more of a little bit still liquidy. So you just keep pouring more. And the stuff is great because I'm not worried about over mixing it and stuff or wasting it because it's only like 10-15 bucks for this huge can. And I've used it for a couple other projects already. Alright, now we're getting thicker. So as you can see, we're kind of definitely getting thicker with this stuff where it's not falling as much. So I'm probably going to throw a little bit more powder in here just to kind of thicken it up even more so it's almost like a clay. You do want to give this stuff a couple days to dry, or at least a day if you're going to use it thick like I'm doing, because I'm going to put a lot of thickness onto the base. Okay, I think I'm where I want it to be now. So as you can see, it's really, really thick. Or I'm going to have to actually use a sculpting tool or wood or whatever. So let's go back in the studio, we'll throw some rocks in it and start sculpting up the base. Alright, so just for the hell of it, I'm going to throw some rocks in here. I don't know, maybe it'll give it some texture. I wanted to throw sand in it, but I don't have any sand and I forgot to go down the shore this summer to get some sand. So now we just take this. So like I said, even if this you really can't sculpt with this, I'm still going to be able to build up a little bit, so this way I can use Aves or Magic Sculpt on top of it, and then really get a nice sculpt. But no, it might turn out pretty cool. And you could Dremel this stuff too, from what they told me. You could kind of chop it up, you could sand it down. Alright, so I'll stop the video, we'll do a little bit of a fast video, and we'll see how this works out for the next, half hour or so. Alright, so as you saw, I was just kind of messing with it, and I'm just seeing what's going on. So at one point I was like, you know what, let me try some baby powder, just to keep the stick from caking up with all the stuff. Baby powder's not going to hurt it at all. It's just a little bit of baby powder just to dry it up a little bit. And it works out pretty cool. You can see there's a texture on there, and this is almost creating like a really worn out pillar that's broken up, and this is kind of all turning to like sand. So in my past pillars, I sculpted all the detail, and I had some fun with those pillars. But this one, I want to try to keep it more like this, just to try to keep it a little bit, really older, and this is all broken up and deteriorating. So I kind of like this look. Now, You gotta let this stuff dry though. You can't really keep building with thickened water and not letting the underneath cure, because if you don't let that stuff cure, then you're gonna probably run into problems. That I saw that with a project I worked on like early in 2016, where I did some really watery stuff and it took forever for it to cure before I could even touch it. So you gotta let it, not use too much water, but not use little water, and just kind of get that medium going. So I think what I'm going to do probably is let this cure for a couple days, and when I'm ready to, I'll get Wonder Woman set up in here where I want her positioned, and then what I'll do is I'm going to come back to this stuff and start sculpting again with it, and just kind of, you maybe hit it with a hair dryer, do a little sculpting with it, hit it with a hair dryer, and just kind of toy with it and get this texture. But I just wanted to throw this out there to you guys. This is something that I picked up. $15 container of powder you can use as a sculpting material and come up with something really cool. So, I'm always learning, always trying to find new things, meeting up with people. So go hit your Wonderfest, your Jersey Fest shows. If you're looking to get into the hobby, ask questions, talk to people, and you never know what people are going to tell you that they do or techniques that they do, and just got to keep learning. So hopefully you like the little tip video. We'll be back with some more videos, and thanks for watching.